not gonna bring out like the red, white, and blue flag thing again.
Oh, that was you saw how I titled last week's podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where I take a night off from my job editing the Olympics to talk about editing the Olympics.
Yes.
That was a great title. I laughed really hard when I saw that.
All right. We're being live streamed right now. Yeah,
Okay.
we're going live.
Let me just post the link on.
I want to see the link as well.
Yeah, I'm just about to post it on Facebook.
Now, Jiho, your audio's down. What's happening? Let me see. Hold on. I wonder if I can do something on my side.
What about now?
Yeah, because he was fine just a second ago.
Yeah, then when you pumped up your volume, he went low. I wonder if it's some balancing thing. Hold on, let me see. There might be a setting on my side. I know this. Hold on. I hate it when it does this. No, it's not. It's not on automatically adjust. If you're on Zoom, also check your settings, your audio settings, and turn off automatically adjust microphone volume. That's a big problem for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, mine's off.
What about now?
You're still kind of silent. I mean, it does record your volume separately, so I could fix it.
What about now?
That's better.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, I found the automatic thing.
It's so bad. It's such an awful feature.
Yeah. There you go.
There we go. Now we all sound normal.
Okay.
Yay.
Normal. All right, we're live on YouTube.
Okay.
Where did you post the link?
I posted it on my Facebook. I tagged you on Facebook, and I'm posting it on Twitter right now too.
Here, I'll post it in our Zoom chat.
Found it.
I think. Oh, you found it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. It would help if I posted the link when I was going to make a tweet. There we go. We're all tweeted.
Oh man, I'm so
Good.
dehydrated. Oh, turn off your YouTube audio.
It is off.
No, it was mine.
Oh, okay. I was like, usually it's me. I'm the one that accidentally leaves it on. I was like, I did it this time.
I didn't know the radio was on.
It does that. It does that.
Okay. It does it from time to time.
Okay. Here we go.
You ready?
Hey, yep. We're all good.
All right, let me get everything set up. Okay. Oh, where am I? There we go. All right, do this in 3, 2. Hey, welcome to the SeoulPodcast. This is Joe.
And I'm Emma.
And this week we have a guest. We have Yuji Ho. He is a mainstay in the English media in South Korea. He has been a sports writer for Yonhap News for around a decade now, covering everything from baseball to football, including 4 Olympics. He's been featured on ESPN, talking about the KBO, and just recently returned from covering Team Korea in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Welcome to the show, Yuji Ho.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Is that good?
Today.
Is that good?
Oh yeah, it was. I don't even know how to really, I guess, react to that. I guess I should sound a little more excited than I am.
The crowd goes wild!
No, this is great. Great to be
I told
here.
him I was going to put, like, he's like the best sports writer in the world. And he's like, maybe not.
Nah, that's going a little too far.
Yeah. Well, he's my favorite sports writer. I've been a big fan. We used to work together way back in the day at Yonhap.
Yeah.
Spent many an afternoon talking about baseball.
Were you there?
Oh, by the way, we're kind of secretive about where Emma currently works.
Yeah, no saying where I currently work. I keep forgetting.
Were you there when Pyeongchang happened? No, it was a little after.
No. Yeah, that was right after I left. I quit. That was one of the reasons why I quit Yonhap when I did, because I knew that I was going to go to the Olympics and I didn't want to have to take time off. So I just quit. It's like, say, bye guys.
It was worth it, right?
It was so worth it. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
there for the first 9 days. So I saw the opening ceremony.
Mhm.
We got there for the opening ceremony, and then we left like the following Sunday.
Man, it was cold on the
It
beach.
was cold.
I
So
mean, you're talking to a guy who spent 7 years in Canada, and
Yeah.
it was cold
Yeah.
that day.
I lived in Rochester, New York for a
Uh-huh.
while.
Yeah.
That was nothing. I mean, what happened? What happened with the
and
weather
the coldest
there?
Winter Olympics on record. That's what happened.
I think
And
so.
wasn't this year the hottest summer Olympics on record?
Close
Yeah,
to
it
it.
was.
I think so.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I was still in
That.
quarantine when the opening ceremony happened, so I was indoors.
Oh no.
For Tokyo,
you
I
missed
assume.
it?
Yeah, for Tokyo. Well, I didn't miss much. If you watched the opening ceremony, right, on TV, I didn't miss much.
I missed like a good chunk of it because I was trying to watch it through streaming
Yeah.
and I couldn't figure out where to stream it properly. And then I forgot that I probably could have just turned on my TV and watched it there. But I was like, no, I
Yeah.
want the English commentary.
Now that I think about it, I remember people talking more about the Pyeongchang opening ceremony than the Tokyo opening ceremony.
Pyeongchang was good. I like that. I mean,
Yeah,
I was
but
freezing.
I remember like Tokyo, just like they said there was an opening ceremony and then that was it. Never heard of any big highlights from it.
Yeah, there were no fans, first of all, and it's kind of May. It went long, I think, even without fans, even with all those a lot of the big portion of the show being kind of streamed down, um, scrapped the last minute, was still very long and wasn't anything too exciting, too memorable.
All the countries coming out and waving to empty stands.
Yeah, basically just the IOC officials and some heads of state or
Hi, hey, dude.
from countries.
Why are you up there? Just come down here, say hi.
Hey, but the Parade of Nations was worth it just to get to see Tonga guy again for his third Olympic appearance.
Yep.
I nearly forgot that he did like the whole shirtless thing for the opening ceremony of the Pyeongchang Games. And I was
He
like,
did too. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just like, how? I was sitting up in the stands in like 20 layers, shivering, and then like my tears are freezing on my face. And I'm like, and you're just kind of waltzing around down on the floor, just like they're like the skirt thing and no shirt. I'm like,
Yeah, I don't even know what sport he competed in Pyeongchang. He's just all over the place. Might have been
oh, I think he was
some skiing.
skiing.
Yeah, some skiing event.
I think it was, I'm not sure which one, but
And
it was definitely
honestly, I don't
skiing.
even know what sport he's competing in Summer Olympics either. So
Oh, I forgot. I had this and then I forgot what it was.
Yeah.
The oiled chess competition.
Yep.
It's like a traditional thing, like not just like something tradition in the sense he does it every Olympics, but it's some traditional thing in Tonga, I guess.
Really?
I
Okay.
think I watched an
didn't know.
interview with him and they were talking about it and he was like,
Okay.
it's just a thing that we do. He was wearing like a traditional outfit and he's like, and we go outside just to oil ourselves up and yeah. And I'm like, not complaining, dude. Not
But
complaining.
he's probably the first
That's
guy
a
that-
promotion for the tourism board there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the shtick is kind of getting old. He's done it 3 times already. So
Yeah. I mean, is he going to do it again at Beijing?
why not? He's only 6 months away, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that far away. Might as well.
yeah.
Yeah, I just like the biggest part of that interview I remember, like, because they were talking about that, and then but he was in like his dorm room doing it via Zoom. And so he was like, oh, did you hear about the cardboard beds? And then just like lifted up his sheets. And I'm like, oh my God, they really were cardboard. I thought this was just like an over exaggeration.
Oh, I heard it was an exaggeration.
Nope, it was legit cardboard.
Oh,
like
my.
cardboard boxes. I'm just like, well, that looks comfortable, dude.
Oh, my. Well, recyclable. It's environmentally friendly.
Yep.
I suppose that was the reason behind it.
Yeah, the cost and the whole
Mhm.
the thing. So
Yeah.
well, I
So
didn't
it's expensive.
flip on one of those.
How so give us the dirt. How was it at Tokyo this year? I mean, you've been to a few Olympics. How was it different? And we just kind of want to hear, what is it like to be in the press corps on the behind the scenes at the Olympics?
Well, it was different, first of all, because it was the first Olympics during the pandemic, and just getting through the whole customs was a pain. The flight itself is only 2.5 hours, and I spent like 4 hours at the airport just to get out of the airport.
Yeah, you had the easiest flight of any foreign press person.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're same time zone, just two
yeah.
and a half
Mhm.
hours, just like that, and then we landed. We had to get tested for COVID. Had to wait for that result. Uh, Sitting around, just filing stories from the airport while waiting for my test result, and something I haven't done before. It's something I hope I never do again. So in that sense, right from the start, it was different. And then, we had to be basically separated from the Japanese public. So we couldn't just take any random subway or train buses to get into town. So
Hmm.
they had to usher us into like press only shuttle bus to get into Tokyo proper from the airport, and then from
Hmm.
there take taxis to get to a hotel. So I left my home to get to the airport about 5:30, 6 a.m. and got to my hotel in Tokyo about 8:30 p.m. So I'm like,
Wow.
my flight was 2.5 hours. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Oh my
So
Wow.
god.
and then we had to quarantine for 3 days, kind of soft quarantine in our hotel room for 3 days. So we could go out to get some food from convenience stores, but we had to come back within 15 minutes. And there were literally people in our lobby keeping like logs of we had to write down the time when we leave the hotel, and when we come back, we have to write down the time that we came back, make
Mm.
sure we were out there less than 15 minutes. And violations would have resulted in basically getting stripped of your credentials.
Oh my god.
Multiple violations would have resulted that.
I mean, how do you know what you want to get when you're at the community? It takes
Yeah,
me
I know. So we just
15
gotta. Well,
minutes to
thankfully, we
figure
had
out what's
one
there.
about a minute walk from our lobby, so we had one very close to our hotel. So there was I guess fortunate. So we did that for 3 days, just not getting out other than to get some food. So which is why I landed on a Tuesday, and then the opening ceremony was Friday. So that was my last day of quarantine, and
Hmm.
the competition began on Saturday. So I had to kind of jump right back into the action the first day
Mhm.
of quarantine. And for the first 14 days of my stay, I couldn't take any public transit because they basically wanted to separate people coming in from overseas from
Mhm.
people. Um, so it wasn't until toward my final week of Olympics that I got sort of the special transportation card where I could just ride subway anytime I wanted, any buses that I could take. So it was kind of a pain just getting around from venues to venues, relying 100% on the media shuttle buses or sometimes, uh, taxis. And so that was pretty much kind of pain in the ass in terms of wasting a lot of time just waiting for your
Mhm.
next bus and next taxi. So there was a very inefficient way of getting around. And I mean,
Mm.
the Olympics themselves here wasn't very compact in terms of how the venues are set up compared to Rio, for instance, in 2016. That's a big country, that's a big city in Brazil, but a lot of the venues were very close to one another. A lot of the
Hmm.
events that I covered in Rio, from the media center to let's say fencing, taekwondo, basketball, volleyball,
All the indoor sports were
swimming,
kind of close
they're
to each other.
all
That would
kind
make
of in the
sense.
same cluster. Whereas
Mhm.
Yeah.
in Tokyo, the first few days when Korea was winning all the archery medals, I was in archery, and then when that was done in the early evening, late afternoon, I had to go over to fencing or taekwondo. That's like 2 hours
Oh
Oh my
just to
my.
god.
get there. The distance itself would have been, I don't know, if I had been able to take subway, it would have been like 40, 50 minutes, under an hour. I would have been able to cover it in under an hour. But to have to take the shuttle, kind of the official route to get from point A to point B, was another 2 hour travel.
Because of all the stops in between.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Mhm.
it's not the stops, but it's just how far the schedule is spread out. It's like there's a
Ah.
bus
Mhm.
every 40 minutes, every 30 minutes. If you miss one, that's another 30-minute hour, a 30-minute wait,
Uh,
and all that kind of thing. So
I guess they wanted to
anyway,
make sure that the
yeah, so it
corona was
wasn't very
spread
compact.
throughout.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it wasn't very compact. Uh, just was very inefficient in terms of how we were getting around, going from point A to point B or even point C for the
Mhm.
first 14 days. So that was kind of the I guess the challenging part of covering the Tokyo games compared to some of the other games that I
Mhm.
went to.
Man, and I complained about getting around for the Pyeongchang games, but I remember after the first few days that the shuttle system actually kind of worked itself out. Like the first few days when we were traveling around, it took us 5 hours to get from the Phoenix cluster where that's where like our pension was and where most of the event, we got a pension there because most of the events we had tickets for were snowboarding. But we had a couple of hockey games. I think the first time we went to the Gangneung cluster, it took like 5 hours using the shuttles.
Yeah,
because we had to
it
wait.
shouldn't be that way because that's only like a 40-minute drive from Phoenix to Gangneung, right? At most.
Yeah, So we finally figured out that if we took the train, we could get there a lot faster. And then once we got the train, I think we would just like take it. There was enough buses there that we could just hop on a bus and get there. And I think we got it down to like an hour maybe. But those first few days of the Pyeongchang Olympics using like the free Olympic shuttles were rough.
But Pyeongchang was one of the most compact winter games ever.
That's why we were so surprised it took so long.
Every venue was within like something like 40 minutes or whatever.
A lot of things were within walking distance too. I remember a lot of stuff, especially in the Pyeongchang part.
Yeah, in Gangneung, hockey, curling, short track, and long track speed skating, they're all within walking distance. In the same
Yeah, they're all like the same. They were in the same complex sort of area.
Yeah.
We just chose all the events that were like set off from everything else.
It still took us 5 hours to drive out there because of the traffic.
Right. And also with Tokyo, we had to get tested every day. We had to not hand out. We had to submit our saliva samples every day during our stay to get tested, basically. And to come back to Korea, we needed that proof of negative test within, I think, 48 hours of our departure.
God, you got a lot of brain sticks.
Yeah, we had to submit our health information every morning. We had to download this app and then kind of, you know how things work, right? You put in your picture, do you have any symptoms and what have you. So we had to do that every day and then get tested and make sure we're healthy and that kind of thing. So.
And I guess that's just Olympics during a pandemic, because I remember within like the first few days of Team USA arriving, they had like 3 or 4 positive COVID cases from
USA.
Like, USA. Yeah, go. If anybody's going to be the first one to get COVID at the Olympics, it's going to be somebody on Team USA.
And some of the athletes got some flack for not getting vaccinated before traveling. And it was not mandatory vaccination, but it was recommended. It wasn't mandatory, but it was recommended if you're from countries where vaccines are available. And obviously, vaccines are available in the U.S. So it was recommended, but not mandatory. So some of the athletes,
not mandatory
at all. So I don't know, like all members of the Korean media were vaccinated. I got vaccinated before I traveled, but I don't know if maybe some other media members from other countries were vaccinated or not. And
this is true, yeah.
And there are moments when, certain members of the media, not from Korea, but some other countries where, they were talking to each other without masks. And it wasn't a good look at the time, Like,
it was the Americans doing this?
No, it wasn't.
I was like, it was the Americans.
Well, Australians have no corona, though, basically.
Well,
they're like, what's coronavirus?
I covered a lot of events where I didn't get to see a lot of the U.S. journalists because I think the sports that Korea was good at, U.S. probably wasn't good at, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to cover any track and field or swimming.
Oh, that sucks. Because, it's when I moved to Korea that I found out that there were these other sports in the Olympics.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Archery? This is the thing?
Archery. I was ping pong.
Table tennis. Get the name right.
Table tennis, badminton. This is 2004 badminton. I'm talking about.
This was the first time I really paid attention to fencing because I had to stay late at the office to cover a lot of the fencing events because for some reason the medal events always happened in the evening. So I would be stuck working until about 9 or 10. But then there's nothing for me to do because I can't edit unless there's an article, and there's not an article until they win or lose. So we ended up just sitting all together in the office watching fencing, and I'm like, okay, saber's pretty exciting. It's like Epee was not. That was a little like, but saber was super exciting. I really got into it. I was like, yeah, slash him.
Saber,
Oh,
because you can score pretty much every. I think the scoring area is the entire body, right? So it's more.
Yeah.
It's a lot more fast paced.
It's more like Star Wars.
Yeah, fencers just go at it, you know.
Yeah, they're just like,
yeah, they just go at it. Whereas epee is kind of like more. It's more strategic. In a team event, you got to get to 45 points, or just have more points than the other team after 9 bouts. In saber, it's pretty much every time they get to 45 points because they just go at it. Whereas in epee fencing, you almost never get to 45 points. You just end up running out the clock and then see who has more points at the end. So.
Yeah, that when the women's team event, that was a long night. I was just like sitting there like, still going, guys. I thought this would be over in like 45 an hour ish, maybe. No. So the following night when they had the men's team saber, I was like settling in. I'm like, this is gonna be a long night. Yeah. And it was over so fast. I'm like, what? Yeah. We're recording now? Okay. Yes.
A lot of the fencing finals began around 7:30 p.m. I think pretty much all of them. I was there for quite a few of them myself. So this was in a different city. It was in Chiba. She's about, let's say, from Seoul to about 40 minutes east, I think, of Tokyo on a bus ride on a good day. So,
on a good day.
Yeah, on a good day. So it was in a different city. So coming back from Chiba late at night back to my hotel was a pain also. So.
Was there any event that you enjoyed covering the most out of everything, or was it all just like, this is work?
You know, fencing is my thing because I don't usually get to cover fencing in years, right? It's usually when the Olympics or Asian Games happen that I get to see fencing in person. And Korea is
I like that. I'd like that. Yeah.
Korea is really good at fencing. Like Asian Games, Korea dominates. Olympics, I think every fencer from Korea actually won a medal.
Wow.
Team medal.
So yeah, because both teams won.
Women's epee silver, men's saber gold, men's epee bronze, I think, and then so those 3 teams. So literally every fencer from Korea won a medal. So there was a pretty good showing for Team Korea. So fencing is my thing. Archery also, just because Korea wins so many medals. And
we're great.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, it's going to be us again.
Korea's always been good at archery. There's actually a TED talk done by this young man about how superior Korean bows are. If you ever on TED.com, there's a great TED talk.
No, there's a lot of other countries that use Korean made like arrows and bows and arrows. You know, a lot of
he shows how the design of the bow is a hybrid between 2 different styles, and that makes it more effective.
Yeah. Well, I can't get it to that, but
it's a great TED talk. It's a great TED talk.
Okay. I'll look it up.
Were there any surprise events where Korea did well?
Volleyball?
Yes, good one. Because the year before, last time it was curling, and then Kim Yeon-ah way back. You know, no one was into figure skating before, and then Kim Yeon-ah.
Well, I guess Kim Yeon-ah winning gold wasn't that much of a surprise. You know, she'd won like world championships, and
she'd won a lot in the run up.
Oh yeah, she never missed the podium as a senior figure skater. Did you know that?
Okay, but I don't remember much figure skating being featured on Korean TV until her.
In Vancouver? Oh, it was a big deal.
Vancouver, yeah.
Okay, I mean, for Kim, leading up to Tokyo, she won a world championship, I think 2009 in Japan or some other place, and oh yeah, it was a big deal. But going back to like women's volleyball. So this was a team that was ranked 14th going into the Olympics. I think it was the lowest in that group in pool play. So it's like, out of 6 teams, you got to be in top 4 to get to the quarterfinals. And there wasn't even a certainty. You know, finishing 4th out of 6 teams, it was like 50-50. Maybe we're going to do it, maybe we're not. And nobody's going to be mad at them for not making the quarterfinals. And then there was one Saturday when everything happened. It was like baseball versus U.S., football, men's football quarterfinals against Mexico, and Korea, Japan women's volleyball. It was like the big nine, big Saturday
That's
night.
great.
And then only women's volleyball team ended up winning that day. Um, like the football team got hammered. I was actually covering football at that night. Just got destroyed by Mexico 6-3. And baseball
Oh,
team lost to the US
be
for
glad you missed the baseball game. I watched the baseball game and I was just like,
No, it was not as ugly as the football game. No, I was following baseball. It was not as ugly as the football game. Anyway,
yeah. I missed that, so I'm going to take your word for it.
they
I was
did
watching
that.
baseball. I was so disappointed.
Yeah. So, I mean, the volleyball team, they're down to a match point against Japan. It was like 14-12 in the fifth set. So they're 1 point away from losing and potentially missing the quarterfinals. And they ended up winning the last 4 points to win the game against Japan in Tokyo and actually qualify for the quarterfinals.
Wow.
In the quarters, it was like, yeah, you know, everyone's just happy to be there and all that. You know what? They beat Turkey. They were number 4 in the world. Nobody gave them a chance. They beat Turkey in 5 sets. You know, moving on to the semis, losing to Brazil was number 2. They ended up in the silver. In the bronze medal match, losing to Serbia. They were world number, I think, 6 at the time. So again, nobody expected Korea to win those matches anyway. So finishing 4th, there's a big deal. And also the fact that the bronze medal match came on the very last day of the Olympics, like literally hours before the closing ceremony. So it was like the last major Korean event for fans here to follow. And then, you know, they put up a, I think, decent fight, but you know, wasn't gonna be enough against Serbia. They were too good. And also it was Kim Young-kyung's last international match for national team, the greatest volleyball player ever to come out of this country. She did all she could to get the team to the point, and then, you know, they just came up short. But again, no one's gonna be mad at her or the rest of the team.
Right.
Did so well.
Those are the stories I love hearing.
Yeah, just the underdog story. You know, I guess beating Japan in Tokyo was always.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
it's like no, after that, the rest doesn't matter.
Everything is gravy after that, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you can beat Japan in anything in sports, especially doing it in Tokyo, just it was a big deal. And after that was a long love affair between Korea and the women's volleyball team for
that's awesome.
the end of the Olympics. Yeah.
I love hearing that. Did you note a different mood from Korean fans this Olympics compared to the past? It seemed to me that fans were not as concerned with medal counts as they were with how much effort and heart people put into their sports.
Yeah, you know what? We get that every Olympics. I think, you know, it's been that way since I think at least London. And people kind of have a short memory. It's like, you know, people said the same thing after Rio. I think we said the same thing after Pyeongchang, after Sochi. So it's not new, to be honest. If you go back in time, 7-8 years back in time, maybe look at some articles, and you're gonna read the same thing.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we don't really care about the medals, and you know, it's the effort that counts. You know what? I'm not 100%.
Fun.
I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of the view because no, it's competition. If you talk to the athletes, you know, they all want to go out there and win medals, and you know, nobody trains to finish 2nd or 3rd or 4th or 5th. You know, a lot of them, maybe they realize they're not good enough to win a gold medal, but that's the goal. That's the sort of the target they shoot for when they train. And so, you know, like I'm not a big fan of that sort of, you know, the competition doesn't matter. Of course it matters. It matters for people who train for it.
The competition matters, but I don't like the idea of like if they don't win everything that we have to be angry at them for not winning everything. You remember when the Ajashis were at Incheon Airport throwing yut at after the World Cup?
World Cup, yeah.
You know, well, that type of stuff
too. So
you covered that one too.
Oh yeah, I covered that one. Well, there was like a mitigated disaster, right? So, but yeah, for me again, like it's all good, and like I guess this day and age, we talk about the athletes, their mental health, and the pressure that they deal with. We saw
that was the big deal this year.
Yeah. Pulling out of the events and people kind of pulling for her. I get that, but at the same time, we can't really. I don't think we should be going too far in the other direction either. Because this is the ultimate competition for a lot of the athletes, and they all want to go in and win. Whether it's a medal, whether it's a match, whether it's getting to the quarterfinals or whatever, and they have their goals and their competitors at heart. And I'm sure a lot of them probably don't want to hear that. Like, it's okay. So you might have lost, but you were there, you participated, and you did your best. I think deep inside, some of them might be saying, you know what, I didn't do anything. I lost. It sucks. I wanted to do better and all that. So we shouldn't be going too far in the other direction sometimes. But I can see how the perception, the way people embrace the Olympics has changed quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think like with Korean athletes, they made a lot of headway in events that they haven't traditionally been pretty good at. I mean,
right.
We had the diver,
diving, high jumping, swimming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Swimming, gymnastics.
Yeah, like the high jumping, the diving. So we're starting to get the cameras into the track and into the pools now.
Yep. I mean, diving, right? It kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I love that. I love watching diving.
No, he's been a top 10 diver for a few years now. He was in the final in Rio in different events. So he was a kind of a top 10-ish, maybe not a medal contender, but I think people figure who is going to be in the final. Maybe hang around top 7, top 10. But to finish fourth, it wasn't that close, but he finished fourth. So that's pretty encouraging. And the high jumper, Woo Sang-hyuk, who I think he came in a centimeter, maybe 2 centimeters of winning a medal. But this guy improved 4 centimeters within, I think, 4 months. That's unheard of in high jumping.
Wow.
So, that was an impressive showing by him.
And then the modern pentathlon.
Yep.
He came out of nowhere.
There was going to be a dark horse, kind of under the radar medal event for Korea. The guy who won bronze, Chon Hong-tae, he done well at World Championships. That's one event where I figured if the Olympics hadn't been postponed, if it had been maybe held like last year on Twan, he might have been able to win the gold. I think he was in better form during the 2019 season, going into 2020, and then things got pushed back by a year. He might have been hurt by that a little bit, but bronze medal was still pretty good. First medal by Korea in that event.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I remember talking to my coworkers and they were like, oh, well, we have modern pentathlon, but we're not sure. We don't think we're going to medal. So don't worry about it. Enjoy watching the baseball game. Cause I had a friend over and we were doing like a little watch party for the gold medal baseball game.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden before it starts, I'm getting like a frantic phone call. Like, Emma, you have to edit the article. He just won a bronze. I'm like, what? Okay. Hold on. I was like already in baseball mode and I'm like, I gotta switch. Sorry. Like you watch the game. I'll be back in like 10 minutes. Ran into my office and sat down. I was like, okay, got this. Ooh, pentathlon.
Yeah.
The life of a journalist.
And then I was disappointed to find out that the laser run didn't actually have lasers. That's how little I actually knew about modern pentathlon.
They used to do bullets. But then they do laser with the shooting portion. That's what they call it, laser run.
Oh, that's where the lasers come from.
Yeah.
Or like, why is it a laser run? Are they shooting it? Is it like laser tag? And you're like,
I want laser tag.
That's a great event, though. Like, I love watching pentathlon because I just think that it's a perfect encapsulation of the Olympic ideal. It's got you got to do a lot of things well. You got to do fencing first day, and then you got to swim. You got to go ride on a random horse that you've never seen before and try to jump, right? Obstacles. And you got to run it and control your, breathing, right? To steady yourself to shoot targets. And it's just a great event to watch.
It's all preparation for zombie apocalypse is the pentathlon.
It's one of the oldest events too, right?
It's been around for, I think, almost from day one. In different forms.
Because I remember Jim Thorpe won back in 1912. He's a famous athlete from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
One of the greatest.
It's not a SeoulPodcast until we talk about Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's not a SeoulPodcast unless I talk about Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he won in the pentathlon. in 1912. I think it was, yeah, he won gold. And of course, yes, he was one of the greatest athletes in the world
Oh yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
And then had his medal taken away.
But you've covered a good many Olympics. Do you have a favorite Olympics?
Oh man, my first one.
Oh, they're all like it's like choosing my favorite child.
No, my first one always be my favorite, London 2012.
London, yeah.
It was one city that I really wanted to travel to, first of all.
I love London.
When I was about 5, 6 years old, my dad, he was at the time he was working in a bank, and he was assigned to some sort of a training period in one of the partner banks in London. So he was sent there for about 5, 6 months, and he would send us like postcards and those double-decker bus toys. And
I brought one home for my daughter. Yeah.
So I had this thing about London, like all this, what the city's gonna look like, and so I had these fantasies about traveling to London one day. No, I loved it, and then just because it was the Olympics, just because I was there to work, I didn't really get to see the city a lot. But I think I had maybe half a day to kind of travel, if you will, like kind of walk around the city a little bit. I think I took the boat right under the bridge.
Yeah.
With the Olympic rings set up at the time. On the River Thames, but that was it. So I didn't really get to see the city much.
You got to go back.
Yeah, I got to go back. I think
I really love that city.
Was my first Olympics, and I loved a lot of the venues that they set up. I went to see one of the Korean football matches in Wembley.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
The sacred, stadium, right?
Yeah, it is.
The archery was set up in old cricket ground. So it had the very classical feel to the whole venue. And
I want to ask, it wasn't as hot in London as it was in other.
It was perfect. The weather was perfect. It didn't rain either. So
it's like cold in the midst of July in London to me.
Yeah. It was perfect. It wasn't cold. It wasn't too hot. And even some of the media buses were double deckers. So I got to like ride on.
I finally got to ride in your double decker bus.
Right. So, so I enjoyed riding my tube. From one venue to the other. It was also very easy to get to from one venue to the next one. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Enjoyed London quite a bit. And,
there's so many great things about London.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite cities.
Of course, being on home soil. Getting to watch so much hockey and get paid for it, so it was a lot of fun. Even though there was not any NHL presence, to watch Olympic hockey on our home soil, home ice, was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So you're gonna what do you think is gonna happen with Beijing?
I think they're gonna have even tougher quarantine restrictions, and I think there's a pretty good chance that they're also gonna go without spectators. I think they're gonna. Really,
we're not that far away from the pandemic.
Yeah, 6 months out, and I think they're gonna come down hard on all these protocols. Like Japan in Tokyo, for instance, the athletes they could only check in to the village. I think it was 5 days before their first day of the competition, and they had to leave the country within 48 hours. Right, which is why there's a lot of people at the closing ceremony, because there was literally nobody left.
Everybody had they kicked them all out. They're like, all right, bye-bye.
It was basically people who competed the day before or the same day.
Hey, look, it's the volleyball team.
Yeah.
It's the Korean volleyball team.
Yeah, I was actually on the flight home with the volleyball team and the pentathlon.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's cool.
They were the only Korean athletes left in Tokyo. Everyone else
because pentathlon was on Saturday.
Yeah, and volleyball was on Sunday. So yeah. Anyway.
It's going to be tough. I mean, politically, it's going to be tough. I think they're going to be really watching the journalists closely, because it's the optics. I mean, we're doing a coronavirus Olympics, kind of the same country where it got its start.
Right.
And so there's going to be a little bit of awkwardness going on.
Probably.
Yeah.
They're going to be really tight on what people say.
No Facebook, no Twitter, right? I guess
you can find
your ways to it. I covered I covered the Asian Games in 2010 in China, in
Mhm.
Guangzhou, and looks like I might go to China twice next year for the Beijing Winter Games, and then there's an Asian Games in Hangzhou also in September in
Oh,
China.
really?
Yeah, so
Ah.
I might end up traveling to China twice next year anyway.
Wow.
So
That's gonna be surreal.
yeah, people figure out ways to get into Facebook and Twitter in China for some reason. I'm not that like technically savvy.
Well,
I don't know if it takes
yeah,
Just
that
need
much
to
savvy
like
to get around.
listen into conversations at the
Yeah.
press center and then like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
those guys, and go
Yeah.
ask them. Be like, how do I get to my Twitter?
Yeah, yeah.
These days with Twitter and Facebook, you're not missing much.
Okay, well.
Oh, no, it's
I
for
just
me.
worry.
Because I want to follow him while he's in the Olympics.
Oh,
Facebook
for
and
him
Twitter is the
broadcasting
best.
out. I thought it was him
Yeah.
reading in. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
No,
we
no,
could-
I'm being selfish. It's
Oh.
all about me watching Jiho like go do
Oh.
all the Olympic things. Because I can't go to the Olympics again until LA.
I don't know. Can they do a cacao? Can I access cacao?
Yeah,
I
just
wonder.
cacao me. Just cacao me pictures
Yeah.
and be like, here's
Sure.
the inside of a bus.
Yeah.
Like, great.
Or just do
Oh.
good old text, I guess.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
make a system. Just give someone, like get someone access to your Twitter account, and they will relay your stuff.
Yeah, cacao and be like, so Jiho says today this is what happened. Picture.
And then later on, when you're put into a cell, we'll do a special Soul podcast about you, about free Jiho.
Hashtag free Jiho.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to the whole experience of going to another Olympics in pandemic, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. And
I
I mean,
imagine.
back in the day, remember, Winter and Summer Olympics were done in the same year.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's right.
yeah, until
while.
Calgary. Actually, until Albertville.
Calgary sounds right. Yeah.
So Calgary sold 88, Albertville and Barcelona 92, and then the next winter was 94,
Mhm.
Lillehammer, and then was 94 and 98.
Then
Nagano.
Atlanta,
Yeah,
96.
96 Atlanta and 2000 Sydney. So ever since 1992 was the last year when they hit the same summer
Yeah.
and winter the same.
It's always associated that like there's always Olympics every 4 years, and now it's Olympics every 2 years.
Every 2 years. Yep.
And now it's just like we're going to do an Olympics whenever we can.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Because the Winter Olympics are always in February, right?
Pretty much so. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking like, oh, it's gonna be like a year, 2001, 2002, or 2021, 22. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no,
It's next
you're
year.
right. It's
Yeah.
less than a year.
6 months
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Not many Winter Olympics happen in July.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it would, but yeah, so I didn't think about that. I'm like, well, I will be watching, but not covering. I will not be covering the Winter Olympics because I will be leaving this company before then. So I can actually just enjoy watching the Olympics and not having to edit articles about
But
it.
I want to get like some idea. I mean, do you have any ideas in the pipeline, like how any Korean teams, any Korean athletes to keep an eye on for Winter Olympics?
I guess short track, and then
Of course.
it's just a matter of who's gonna come out of the national team trials. And if you make
Mhm.
it out of the Korean national team trials, you're probably gonna win a medal at the Olympics.
Okay. How about
Yeah.
curling?
Curling, you gotta qualify first, I think. It's it's not the same as the 2018 thing where I guess the host country kind of got an automatic spot, right?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The skeleton, in the men's skeleton, Yoon Sung-bin, he won the gold medal, right, in Pyeongchang.
Mhm.
He's still one of the top guys in his sport. So I think as we get closer to winter, there's going to be more of a spotlight on them. They're going to have more events internationally anyway to win kind of the qualifying points to try to qualify. So I think we're going to see more coverage on those athletes as we get closer to the winter. Figure skating, probably not a medal event for Korea, but kind of always there's a little bit of interest kind of a cult following of figure skating among Korean fans.
It's nice. It's nice to watch. Well, do you think? Okay, this is a question. I mean, for our listeners who are inside Korea, I mean, would they be able to go see some of these preliminaries? Go and see these events
I hope so.
inside
That's
Korea?
the hope, right?
Well, that's a hope. But how would they
Yeah,
find
that's the
out
hope.
how would they find out where to find them?
Oh, I mean, I guess there's gonna be like announcements. There's gonna be articles covering those announcing those schedules for national
Uh-huh.
finals. It's just a matter of whether they're gonna allow spectators,
Mhm.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, most likely they will happen this year, or they will happen January next year at the latest.
Okay.
Because the
Usually I
league
don't find
better.
out something happened until the day after, and the news is reported something that happened
Oh,
the day
okay,
day
well,
before.
okay.
Follow Jiho on Yonhap. Follow Jiho's Twitter.
Yeah, I try to make some announcement I think beforehand, but I think most likely a lot of those events will not allow fans
Mhm.
because of COVID, right?
Right, because it's
Yeah.
only going to be just a few months after like the main push for the vaccination drive within Korea,
Herd immunity.
Yep.
which we're now discovering is not really a thing because variants
Mm.
and Delta. Gotta love Delta. Though I remember when I was in Pyeongchang, there were a couple of young Korean snowboarders that weren't actually doing that bad. So I'm interested to see, and they were still pretty young, if I remember correctly. So I'm interested to see if they come back and how well. Yeah.
I think he won a medal in the one, not the half pipe thing. What do you call it?
Was it? There was
I forgot the name
slope
of the event.
style
Yes,
and
not slope style, parallel.
oh yeah.
Alpine.
That was the one we didn't have tickets to.
Okay. Well, I think there was one event where one of the Korean snowboarders won a medal, but he has actually fallen off the mat. So
nobody knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing now. So he's completely fallen off the mat, just faded into obscurity after winning, doing so well in the Olympics. So I don't think there's anybody coming up in like half pipe, all those fancier events in snowboarding. And alpine skiing, Korea's never had anybody in alpine skiing. It's just not a good thing.
We should. Yeah. We have Alpinzia. It's in the name.
We have all those nice alpine skiing places now.
Like Alpinzia Resort, the province of Gangwon, they try to sell the piece to some other, because they were bleeding like money. They're losing.
They're bleeding money. Wasn't it built by the Moonies? One of them was built by the Moonies.
No, this is before that.
It was before that.
Anyway, so that's become sort of like a big white elephant, I think.
Yeah.
They're losing a lot of money with that. So anyway, that's for another day.
I tried.
It's a different conversation.
I tried. Yeah. I want to have you back when we get closer to Beijing, though. If you wouldn't mind, I want to.
Yeah, sure.
Like to
you could do like a whole run up to the Beijing Olympics.
You have a clearer picture of who's going to actually compete, right?
And it's hard to tell right now.
Like men's hockey team, they're going to have qualification coming up later this month. But we got in as host country in Pyeongchang. To qualify on merit for the first time.
I mean, it was so cool that we had 3 Olympics right within 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, in the same like sort of region, right? Northeast Asia.
Yeah.
Korea, Japan, and now China.
Yeah.
I had plans. I was going to go to Tokyo. My best friend from LA.
We were planning too. We were planning
she flew over for Pyeongchang, and at Pyeongchang we started planning to, putting money aside and doing all like the logistics and stuff to go to Tokyo because we wanted to go see all the skateboarding events. And then her like, well, that's not happening.
Yeah.
No.
Oh well.
Like I said, we've got LA. We have LA 2028. I'm moving back to America next year. She lives right, well, not in LA proper, but she lives like within a suburb or satellite city of LA. So she came over and stayed with me for Pyeongchang. She's going to return the favor for LA 2028. So I'll get to see a summer Olympics. It's just going to be.
What about Paris?
I would love to do that. I just don't know if I'll be able to afford it.
I don't know, man. If I'm going to Paris, I want to go when there's no crowd. Oh, there's always a crowd in Paris. What am I
There's
talking
always a
about?
crowd in Paris.
Mm.
Actually, but that would be cool. I would like to go see the Summer Games in Paris. That would be because I've never been to France, so
Oh, France I love France.
I could use as a jumping off point. I could go to the Olympics for a few days and then just like travel around
Just
Europe
go
the
on
rest of the time.
Eurorail, go everywhere.
Finally go visit my friends in Scotland.
Yeah.
Been after me for like 3 years. Come to Scotland. Like when there's no pandemic, I will do that.
Well, wonderful. Well, we're going to wrap up. We've done a good hour. We're going to wrap up. This is great. This has really been really fun. We'll just remind you, we do have a Facebook page, facebook.com/SeoulPodcast. Twitter is at twitter.com/King Sejong. Emma, how can people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at just look for Emma Kalka. I'm the only one there. So
Jiho, how can people follow you?
Yeah, on Twitter, I've got Jiho_1. It's JEEHO_1. This numeral 1.
Jiho 1.
I don't know if there's another Jiho U there, but
I got the one.
No, the thing
definitely.
is I ended up doing the 1_1 because I think Jiho or Jiho U was taken at the time. So
yeah,
probably someone else.
Definitely, definitely follow Gio if you're a KBO fan. You go to a lot. You're still doing. Are you switching back into covering KBO games now?
Yeah, but it's kind of because of the COVID thing. It's kind of hard getting around to.
We're talking about baseball, right?
Yeah, baseball.
Yes.
Yeah,
baseball. We have sexy first pitchers by K-pop stars.
That's not a thing anymore. I mean, not this year, not the last couple of years.
I know it's a thing. I mean, I haven't seen one lately.
Yeah, it's not
because no one's allowed to go to games.
It's not a good look to invite these K-pop stars to.
No, it's not. But I think it's funny.
Yeah,
because their wind-ups look like something from Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, the shtick is getting old too there too. Because someone does it, everyone's trying to follow whoever has done it before, and then they get old pretty quick. So
I would just be like Dr. Fauci during the first pitch, where he's like, "Yeah," and then it goes like a foot and drops. That would be my.
Is that what happened? Oh,
yeah. The guy who was like trying to save America from COVID threw a first pitch at a game, and it just went like. That would be me.
It was a metaphor.
That would be my first pitch. No flips for me. Just like, yeah. Oh, I got halfway there, guys. Halfway there.
Thank you everyone for listening. Remind you that we do try to be live on Friday nights on YouTube. So subscribe to us on right now we're on Zen Kimchi over on YouTube. If you do that, okay. So thank you so much, Jiho, for joining. Until next time, stay safe. Be careful out there.
Yeah, thanks for having me today.
No problem. Thanks for coming. Bye. We're still alive.